No. Okay, we'll go. Yes. Thank you. Hafaday and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. It's such a beautiful, hot day, but it's nice to always see the great public health employees. Thank you very much for being here. This afternoon, the Committee on Health is here, invited the staff of public health, most specifically the Project Bista Familia program from public health. And I'd like to introduce the Chief Public Health Officer, Dr. Suzanne Kaneshiro. If you just give a brief opening, and then we can introduce the rest of your team with us. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Suzanne Kaneshiro. I'm the Chief Public Health Officer at the Department of Public Health and Social Services. And I oversee the Bureau of Family Health and Nursing Services, under which the Project Bista is under. And so it's a home visiting grant. What they do is they go to families with high-risk children, and so they go to their homes and see how they're doing, especially with if they have young infants and newborns. So right now it's only, I think, 3 villages they go to: Deredo, Jigo, and Mangilao. And so, yes.
Thank you very much, Doc. And just for the record, when I know this program has been ongoing, it's a federal grant, I understand, and when I just about a month ago had a meeting with the team, I thought it was very important that that you provide the same presentation you gave me here in the legislature, where it's televised. Our people at home can see what this program is about and learn what this program is about. And for those who perhaps could take advantage, I think it's very beneficial. And also, as the underlying intent here is that knowing that it works, looking at ways to see how we can sustain this moving forward, and expanding it into other villages of the island, right? So I'll go ahead and turn it over now to Margarita.
Good afternoon. My name is Margarita Gay. I am the administrator for the Bureau of Family Health and Nursing Services, which is under the Chief Public Health Office. And I am the project director for this McV grant, and it was since 2010 we were funded, and we've continued for the last 7 years. I'll go down the line to introduce our staff.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Relita Samailo. I am the supervisor / home visitor for the program.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Dino. I am a home visitor for the project.
Hi, I'm Marcia Meter. I'm an interpreter for Project Bista.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Maggie Bell. I'm a program coordinator with the Maternal Child Health Program at Public Health.
So buenas and half a day. I'm Terry Egan. I'm the Acting Human Services Program Administrator for Carino.
Half a day. I'm Diana Santos. I'm a social worker plus assessment worker for Project Bista y Familia.
Hi, half a day. I'm Veronica Santos. I'm home visitor for Project Bista.
Hi, my name is Gwen. I'm home visitor from Project Bista.
Buenas and half a day. I'm Liz Calvo. I'm the social marketing coordinator for Bista, and I'm also the social marketing manager for Carino.
Half a day. My name is Audrey Tapasa, and I'm the program coordinator for Project Bista. Okay, so what I'm going to do this afternoon is I'm going to provide information, an overview of our home visiting program, as well as share some of our program outcomes, talk about our family achievements, and then next steps on how the program would like to move forward with its services. I first wanted to, the first several slides, I wanted to share why home visiting, the research behind home visiting, and the funding that support this home visiting services on the federal level. With home visiting, it is a prevention strategy used to support pregnant moms and new parents to promote infant and child health, foster educational development and school readiness, and most important, to help prevent child abuse and neglect. With home visiting, the focus is to link pregnant women to prenatal care, promote and build strong parent-child relationships with the families, as well as providing some coaching skills to parents so that they will be able to foster development with their children. In addition to that, our home visitors conduct screenings with the parents. The purpose of the screening is to be able to identify any possible health or developmental issues with their child. Should there appear of any concerns, the home visitors will do a referral and link these families to the appropriate services in order for the family to get some assistance. The one thing I really appreciate with home visiting is that it's a voluntary service, meaning that families are in the program, they are receiving home visiting services because they want to. I believe that that is so important because it gives ownership to these families. They're telling us that they want to receive positive parenting skills. They want to get information to support their children's growth and development and so forth, their children's safety. How can I be that positive role model for my child? Lastly, why home visiting? Every family who's receiving home visiting is visited from the home visitor every week for a minimum of 1 hour. This really gives an opportunity for our home visitors and the families to build a strong bond. Gives an opportunity for families to trust in their home visitor. And when you have that trust, families are able to feel comfortable to talk with their home visitor and share what are those concerns that they have in becoming a better parent. Moving along, I wanted to share about the research, why home visiting is important, and what is the research telling us. With high-quality home visiting programs, it improves outcomes for children and families, particularly those families with who are teen parents, who come from who are single parents, some women who are experiencing maternal depression. It shows improved outcomes with families who lack social and financial support. The research also is telling us that high-quality home visiting programs show a reduction with child abuse and neglect. It shows improvement with birth outcomes such as decreased preterm births and also low birth weight babies. It shows improvement with school readiness for children that are in our program. And it also shows increased with the high school graduation rates with the women enrolled in our program. And lastly, what the research is saying is that with high quality home visiting programs, the returns on investment range from $1.75 to almost $6 per every dollar spent on reduced costs of child protection, grades kinder through 12th grade special education and grade retention, as well as criminal justice expenses. Now, what I just shared, what the research says, it just shows there's strong evidence and how valuable home visiting is and the impact that it has when implementing these evidence-based programs to our at-risk families. Next, so how are these home visiting services supported? It's supported through federal funds. Since 2010, the federal government created a federal home visiting initiative, also known as the Maternal, Infant, and Early Childhood Home Visiting Grant. And so since then, 49 states, the District of Columbia, 5 territories, and 5 nonprofit organizations have been given funding to implement home visiting programs. Over $4 million every year have been given to states and territories to continue the home visiting services. The McV program requires states and territories to achieve specific benchmarks and outcomes. And those benchmarks that address maternal and newborn health, childhood injury and maltreatment, reduced emergency room visits, school readiness, achievement, crime and domestic violence, and coordination for community resources and support. I wanted to just briefly talk about where the federal dollars come from. From 2010 to 2015, federal dollars were identified through the Affordable Care Act. For 2016 and 2017, federal dollars were identified through the reauthorization under the Medicare Access and the Child's Health Insurance Program. Just to let you know where all this money coming from. Since the inception of the McV program, the federal government has invested almost $2 billion in home visiting alone. So it really just shows again the value and the importance and why we need to keep home visiting present on our island. I'm sorry? Yeah.
Because you said it's funded through the Affordable Care Act initially, right?
Yes.
And a lot of the programs that were funded through the Affordable Care Act, there's a sunset. There's a date when the funding ends.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a sunset for this program?
So right now, and I'm going to show when there's a slide there that talks about the funding, but
Okay, I'll wait to my question.
okay. So moving along now, I want to talk about the overview of our local program here, which is Project Bista y Familia, which is a tomorrow phase, meaning to visit the family. Again, Project Bista is an evidence-based home visiting services for pregnant women and families with young children from birth to 5 years old at high risk for poor outcomes. It is a voluntary program that services today over 250 children and adults since December 2012. So that is when our first home visit was conducted. I wanted to just share that the family there you see is a family that's receiving home visiting services with Bista. And the young boy that's with the mom, that's Shane, that's Shane. And Shane was enrolled in our program when he was 2 months old. He is now 4 years old, and he is enrolled in pre-gate at Metronano Elementary School. So he's just, that's just a great achievement with that family. Moving along with our program overview, here is just our goal for the program. It's basically to provide that high-quality, evidence-based home visiting services to improve the health and development of children and parental capacity. Here is another photo of our family enrolled in the program. This is one of our teen moms. She's 17 years old, and this is her daughter. She's 3 years old. This mom just graduated from Simon Sanchez just this past June. Our target and service population. Dr. Kaneshiro and Margarita had mentioned this earlier, that we service families that reside in the 3 villages, Darero, Jigo, and Manilao. To be eligible for our program, you have to be either pregnant and under the age of 21. So this is our high-risk population. If your family does not fall in that category, then the next category is if you're a pregnant woman, or if you're a parent that has a child under the age of 3 months, and with one or more risk-related characteristics. And those characteristics are such as being low income, a history of child abuse or neglect, a history of substance use abuse, low student achievement, if there's any developmental delays or disability, tobacco user, or the families in the military. How this target service population was identified was through a 2010 needs assessment that was conducted for the McV planning grant. Screening is done at Central Public Health Clinic, also at a couple of the high school prenatal to infant wellness classes, and the program also receives referrals from other early childhood programs such as Carinu, hospitals, clinics, and families that are enrolled in our program, they too go out and share the great service that they receive with the home visiting program. And they kind of like recruit other families that, you know, we're in Project Bista and we're receiving, you know, really great service from our home visitors and so forth. So they're also part of our recruiting process, which really tells a lot about when families in the program start recruiting other families to join in also. Moving along, I continue to mention high-quality evidence-based home visiting programs, and in saying that the evidence-based model that Bista uses is Healthy Families America, which we also refer to as HFA. The curriculum we use for our parents, families is Parents as Teachers. HFA's model has over 30 years of research backed behind it. It is implemented in over 600 communities. And we are very happy to say that as part of HFA, and accreditation is also part of this model. After 3 years of implementing HFA, all sites must go through an accreditation process. And Senator, I'm sure you're fully aware of how the rigorous and intense things that happen in going through an accreditation process. And we're very excited, I'm still very excited to announce that we received national accreditation just this past January. To give you just a short background of what the model entails is it has 12 critical elements, and within those elements consist of 152 best practice standards. And again, Guam has met, Project Bista has met all those standards. Other exciting news is that we are the first among the territories to receive this national accreditation. There are 5 territories that receive McV funding and are all using the HFA model. And so those territories are, of course, Guam, Puerto Rico, CNMI, American Samoa, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. So, you know, that really, the Department of Public Health and Social Services has really set the standards high and has shown a commitment in implementing high-quality evidence-based programs, not just here on Guam, but within the territories. Our accreditation is good until March 2021, and then we will go through this whole process again. And, you know, it's so important because it shows that following the best practice standards basically will give you those results. And in saying that, I wanted to share with you what is the data telling us in implementing HFA and working through the McV grant. I mentioned earlier, or in the beginning of the presentation, that the McV grant for all the states and territories that are receiving these funds are required to achieve specific performance measurements. And so from the year 2015 to 2016, there are 36 performance measurements that we are required through the grant to report to HRSA and the McV officials. And so I just wanted to share some of those data and how it looks and what are these improvements that our program has seen with our families. So first performance measure I wanted to share was women screening for depression through the first 6 months after giving birth. And we know this is so important because this addresses the postpartum depression. And so we've seen an increase in this, in screening women in 2015 from 67% to 100%. Performance measurements regarding babies having at least 3 well-child visits in a 12-month period. Again, we know this is important. It's part of that preventive care to ensure that these babies are being seen by a physician to make sure that they're receiving the necessary care that's needed. From 55% to an increase of 90%. The next performance measurement, children who have been reported in a case of substantiated maltreatment, 46% to a decrease in 11%. So we want to see a decrease in this performance measurement. Women screen for domestic violence. We know this is something, an issue that is very sensitive here in our island, and it's unfortunately happening. The screening went from 25% of the women enrolled in our program to 88%. Women who received birth spacing education, 67% to 100%. Children screened using the Ages and Stages questionnaire at 6 months of age. Now, this is a developmental screening for children enrolled in our program from 31% to 82%. And then another screening tool using the ASQ, which this addresses the social and emotional development screening from 34% to 82%. In addition to sharing those outcomes with you, receiving national accreditation, sharing our performance measurements, I feel like the next set of data is even of utmost importance, because this is what our families are telling us. This is it's like direct service. It's what our families have achieved. And so I'm just going to share 3 testimonies from 3 of our moms, and these are actually our young moms, what our teen moms are saying about the program. The first says, because of Bista, I know how to be a mom and take care of myself. Second, a mom says, I learned a lot. They taught me how to be a better parent, how to deal with stressful moments, anger moments. A third mom says, I was going through so much at the time, and I pretty much had no one to talk to. So when my home visitors started coming around, she was the one person I could vent to. She wasn't there to judge me. She was there to sometimes give me advice and listen to, and that's what I needed the most. And I feel that this was really important to share this, because these are our young people, our young parents. And I'm not sure if you're aware with the how our suicide rates look on Guam. The most recent data from 2016 says that here on Guam, 1 person dies by suicide every week. And that actually is doubled from the previous years, where it was 1 every 2 weeks. And so it's important that we know our parents are aware about self-care, are aware that, yes, they're going through challenging times, but they can get the help that they need. And so with our home visitors, they provide them those resources, and they teach them of how to better take care of themselves and identify the different types of activities that they can do. Moving on to family achievements. Here I would like to share a couple of stories about our families and what they've achieved. The first story is about a teen mom who had her baby when she was 15. And everything about the first-time mom was very difficult for her. She had juggled being a teen, a student, and a mother all at once. When she entered into Project Bista, her daughter was only 2 months old. This mom today, now, she understands her responsibility as a parent and the importance of taking care of herself. She continues to attend classes and is scheduled to graduate from high school this December. She plans to go to college to become a pediatrician, and today her daughter is currently enrolled in the pre-grade program. Another family achievement is a mom who entered the program was struggling with breastfeeding with her newborn baby. With guidance and continuous support this mom received from her home visitor, she overcame this challenge. Today she continues to breastfeed her 22-month-old baby. And this also is very important because breastfeeding is one of our performance measurements. And so our home visitors really encourage and support moms to breastfeed. The next story I want to share is about a young mom when she met her home visitor when she was 16 and pregnant. Today, she received her high school diploma in June, just this past June, and her daughter is a healthy 3-year-old who loves to play and learn. And very important because this addresses one of again, our other performance measurement and also one of our best practice standards with our model, which is that parent-child interaction. The last story I wanted to share is about a 17-year-old mom who entered the program who was faced with unstable housing and substance abuse with a newborn baby. When she was enrolled in the program, this mom has found stable housing, completed a substance abuse outreach treatment program, and has remained drug-free for 4 years. Her son is 4 years old today and is enrolled in the Head Start program. So our staff, has worked really hard with our families in trying to meet our performance measurements and giving the opportunities for these families to have these achievements and reach their family goals. And so next year, I wanted to just share with everyone today how our team, and I know they've introduced themselves already, but with Project Bista, we have 7 home visitor positions. We currently have 4 that are filled, 3 that are filled, and we're looking to recruit for additional 4 home visitors. The other thing I wanted to mention is our home visiting staff. The staffing pattern of how it works is more of a 2-tier staffing pattern where we have a combination of nurses as home visitors as well as paraprofessionals. So we do have 3 nurses as home, actually 4 with Relita. She holds the supervisor position / home visitor until we're able to fill the other positions. Next here, Senator, this is what you were talking about, which is how our program funding looks like. And so we do receive federal funds from the McVie grant, which comes from the Human Resource Service Administration, also known as HRSA. So today, our current budget is $1 million for fiscal year 2017, and we will continue to receive $1 million for FY 2018. For FY 2019, it was reduced by $8,000. So this here will keep the services afloat until September 2019. Some of the team, the program team, just came back from our grantees meeting in DC, and our project officer had informed us that at this time there is no update into any available funding opportunities to support the continuation of the home visiting program from fiscal year 2020 and beyond. Okay.
First of all, Senator Lee, thank you for joining us. On the funding, so you've been receiving funding though since 2010.
Correct.
So the funds that are not used, I assume you have some leftover funds from that time. Do you carry it over?
No.
No. So the feds take it back.
Yes.
Whatever you don't use.
Right.
So what are the challenges you're having now in terms of the recruitment? Are you having challenges, or are you just not recruiting? Because you get 7 positions, right?
Yes, the challenges the program has been facing is in the areas of recruitment and procurement. And so, yes, if positions aren't filled, monies are not spent and then monies are returned.
So do you have an estimate of how much has been returned since?
For the current budget right now, well, it ends September 30, so we always want to be hopeful that we still haven't filled. I believe we have 1 home visitor position that hopefully in the next week that it would be filled, but it still leaves 3 more home visiting. So it looks like that amount would be returned.
So the funding, is it on a reimbursable basis, or you get the money up front, the federal funds?
The money is given up front. The thing about for the McVie grant, so what I've learned, because it was a little bit different from when, for the other federal programs that I was running, for this, it's awarded basically on a 2-year period. So for example, FY17, it's really for the period of October 2016 to, I'm sorry, like for FY 2018, it's really, we could start spending it from 2017 to September 30, 2018. So the funding is already there prior to us expending it. So there's no need where we do that reimbursement. We've already received the funds.
So the problem you're having is just the usual bureaucratic procurement and
recruitment. Yeah, and we just recently had our comprehensive site visit where our project officer was here along with the consultants to address programmatic and financial issues. And we were able to set up a meeting with them to see Department of Administration's HR representative, as well as DOA's accounting representative. We really wanted them, to know that of the many challenges that we're having, because time and time again, we would be questioned, why aren't we spending the money? What is the issue with hiring? And, it continues to be a challenge where it's almost 6 months, sometimes longer, for someone to actually start working from when the recruitment packet leaves our office to the employee's actual start date. But we're working very closely with DOA, especially we have seen progress since that comprehensive site visit, since that meeting, and that was in May. And so from May to now, we were able to hire 2 home visitors, and then they're working on that one I mentioned earlier. So, we hope that we continue that working relationship, and so we're able to fill all the home visitor positions. And the number of families we service does reflect on how many home visitors we have. So if we're not able to fill those positions, we're not able to increase our family enrollment. And that was one of the things I was going to talk about next on our next steps. So it's so vital that, it's such a great program. We have, the outcome, we have great outcomes, and we've been asked several times, how can we increase the enrollment? And, it comes back to what is our capacity. And if we want to maintain that national accreditation, we have to follow the best practice standards. And for home visitors, we have to look at the number of caseloads that they have, where it is a very stressful service that we provide. It's a very intensive home visiting service that we provide, and the home visitors work with these families every week. And so having a caseload of more than 20, 25 is already too much. Okay. And
thank you. So, yeah, I had a similar question with regard to your program funding. So for FY 2017, it's 1 million, and then FY 2018 also 1 million.
Correct.
So that's inclusive of all the 4 vacant positions, correct?
Yes.
And then since the comprehensive site visit, you've hired 2 more home visitors. So the vacant is only 2?
So right now we have...
or is it still 4, the 4 total?
No, so then I'm sorry, I'll make that correction. We have 2 openings, and then when we fill that one, she's just gone through her drug testing, so we're very excited.
Okay.
I'm hoping it's next week.
Okay,
so
great.
then we will have one home visitor position opening. Yes, if I do my math correctly. Yeah.
It's just been, our experience that a lot of constituents that come to the legislature for assistance or anywhere in the government of Guam, one of the biggest prohibitive factors for them receiving the resources that they need or being able to be aware of the resources that are available to them is, it's definitely that access. And so the whole idea of home visits and the fact that you guys bring that information to them is so critical. So yeah, I really want to encourage you. I'm really glad that you had that opportunity to meet with DOA when during the site visit in May and try to figure out how we can better address that. And we'll certainly, I'll work with the chairman to make sure that we can do what we can on our end to make sure that, DOA is assisting you, and you said that it's getting much better, and you're working together to try to make it happen. Because I'm just seeing that the idea of no carryover funding, and if the positions aren't filled, then not as many people are served, and so it kind of is
it's a domino
incentive.
effect.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to make sure that we were able to give you all the maximum amount of resources, right, to be able to continue to do this great work. So I don't have any other questions. I'm sure you finish up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So in summary, Project Bista, created this support for voluntary evidence-based home visiting services for pregnant women and parents with young children up until they enter kindergarten. So when a family enters our program, they actually receive services for up to 5 years. So really there's that continuity of services, and I believe that's what really makes this model work. That's why it's so successful, because families continue to receive the support. With these families, things can be okay for the first few weeks, and then something will come up. So how are they going to get the support they need for an issue that may arise? I mentioned about how the program is built on decades of scientific research, and that home visiting supports to prevent child abuse and neglect. It supports that positive parenting, improves maternal and child health, promotes child development and school readiness. The research also shows that evidence-based program home visiting can provide a positive return on investment to society through savings in public expenditures on emergency room visits, child protection services, special education, as well as increased tax revenues from parent earnings. And so that also is one of our performance measurements, where we help parents with employment. It could be a small service such as helping them how to fill up a resume, showing them how to find employment, what are different ways to apply for a job, and so forth. Project Bista, I just talked about that it is federal, all funded with federal dollars today, and should this provide a positive return investment for Guam, as Guam will not be burdened with those exorbitant expenditures in the future. And so what are our next steps, and how does the program see in moving forward with its services? I mentioned this earlier about the program is wanting to increase family enrollment to 100 families. Today, we currently have 52 families enrolled. If we were to increase it to 100 families, we will be servicing over 450 children and adults. And of course, if the program continues to grow, that could be part of expansion efforts again, where we move on to other villages. To kind of go back in our needs assessment, the top 5 villages was Derero, Jigo, Mangilao, Tumuning, and then Mongmong, Totomaiti. So, as we have our meetings, especially with our advisory committee, it's always coming up on how can we expand. And we know it's important. For me, if we could have this service provided island-wide, that would be great. But, we always have to go back to what is our capacity, how many people can we service, and still keep in mind with following those best practice standards. Another thing for our next steps is identifying resources, and this could be working with our early childhood partners and how to continue to promote evidence-based home visiting services. Maybe working on some policies and connecting it with funding opportunities. We already talked about Project Bista Home Visiting Services is funded today up to September 30, 2019. Beyond that, we really just don't know. And especially now with our new president on board, we just don't know what to expect with all these natural disasters happening in the U.S., the hurricanes. Funds are going to have to come from somewhere to support those families as they go through those, trying to get their lives back. So, we really don't know what the future holds right now. Today, I want to thank Senator Rodriguez for giving us this opportunity to share about our program and how valuable it is that it continues beyond September 30, 2019. We really don't want to see this service fall through the cracks. And so that is our next steps, and I wanted to just leave this with everyone, this quote. The question is not whether we can afford to invest in every child, it is whether we can afford not to.
Great. Thank you very much, Audrey, for that. Yeah, we can give a round of applause. Thank you. And I do want to hear from some of you to share your experience. But before that, you know, you said there's 50 families now? 52?
52 families currently enrolled. Fiscal year 2016, we did have 59 families. Some of those families who've left the program they relocated off island, or they moved to outside of the target population to another village. Yes, today we currently have 52 families. Right now, although we have 4 home visitors, we technically have we have 2 who are actually providing home visiting, because the 2 just recently started and they're still going through some training. So with 2 home visitors and 52 families, that's really beyond the best practice standards. But, you know, we working together to ensure that the home visitors, the incoming home visitors are trained, and once they're trained, we are hoping to have them start conducting home visits hopefully in between October and November.
Okay. So I know you said earlier too, this is on a voluntary basis, right? And how are they referred to you, or how do you get the families to come into the program?
We conduct screening and assessment at our Central Public Health in Manila, so that's one way. Another way is we get referrals from other early childhood programs. We also do screenings at, there's a couple of high school classes. It's their prenatal to infant wellness classes, where we work with the teacher and we do screenings there as well. And referrals from hospitals. All the hospitals, we receive referrals as well as clinics. And then again, families that are enrolled in our program, they also do go out and recruit families for us too.
So on the recruitment, what are your requirements to be a home visitor?
For home visitors, we have 2 positions that an individual is able to apply for, which is a registered nurse and then a community program aide too. I mentioned earlier that it's kind of unique, our staffing pattern, and this was recommendation coming from our comprehensive site visit. So we have 3 nurses for home visitor positions, and then we have 4 community program aides. Now our nurses they see families who have the higher scores, families who have scores at a higher level, who have multiple risk factors. And then the community program aides will see families at a smaller scoring. And then the nurses do assist the community program aides with families that have substance abuse issues, domestic violence, and child abuse.
Yes, please. Please just chime in, anybody.
Before, when it first started, all I thought was the home visiting was dealing with nurses. So that was our plan, is to hire nurses. And we had problems because we hired paraprofessional also, but because of the knowledge and training they had, it was kind of hard for the paraprofessionals to get the grasp of the training and absorb it and apply it. And so we had issues with staffing, so we would go back from nursing, hire nurses or hire community program aide. But one thing about the nurses, they were able to get the trust they were able to answer the health, we were able to give immunization. So, it kind of fit, but then, of course, we can't have all that, it's hard to hire. So by going through all these challenges and learning from all our experience, we are now, it just helped that the parents kind of knew a little bit more, the partners started to learn about it, so they kind of got, because we never had one in Guam, evidence-based, so that's why it took being exposed and learning about Bista that others were able to, click, and having the early childhood background helped also. So, we went from nurse, but it's because of our public health background.
Yeah.
But now that we are able to, we are known in the island now, so it's a little bit easier. So, like one of our interpreter, just being an interpreter, she learned the program and she's interested to join us.
Great.
So the program molded its staff to, so that's why we started with nurses, but because the model didn't want only nurses, but we just worked with the model
I tell you, I really, when we shared this program with me, was it a month ago or so, we know that early intervention is key, right? And as early as if the mom is pregnant, especially for a teen mom or the high-risk moms, it's very important that we give the guidance, to these moms. And so it's a great program. As early, or maybe people say it's late as now, but we need to really, we'll work with you to see how we can get this going past 2019, right? Because the funding's only good for 2019. And seeing how you can even expand it to other villages in the island. So do you get any referrals for moms maybe that live in another village that's not covered here, and how do you deal with that?
Okay, I could. When we encounter through screening and assessment a family who lives outside of the target population, because we've already done that assessment, so their risk factors we have been identified. And so what we'll do is we'll refer them to other programs, so that way we ensure that they're getting some kind of support, because Bista is not able at this time to service them. So we do, they go through a referral process.
I see. Okay. Please, anyone can join and maybe speak about you're a home visitor, right?
Yes.
You can speak about how your experience is.
So initially I worked at NICU, GMH. So I've always had maternal health child behind my background. So in the beginning I was like thinking, going to public health is quite different. But I'm really telling you guys that public health is actually more rewarding for me itself, because then you get to see the dynamics of how they work at home. What are the problems that are there and what is it associated with. Instead of when you're at GMH, you're only looking at the disease and trying to prevent it from ever happening. But then there's other things that are lying outside. There's certain things that are happening at home, that's why these are happening. So as for me, I think this program actually works so well. The girl that talked about the substance abuse, that little boy was in NICU for a while. Because I was in NICU at that time, and I decided to move over. Because that kid stayed there for 6 months, and eventually went home to the mom. And when she went home to the mom, it was I who took care of that child. So the kid is already 4 years old. Yes, there's disabilities, but the mom is such a good mom. Yes, there's substance abuse in the back, but that's because other things happened during her lifetime that maybe you and I will never be able to understand. But then she is a good mom.
Yeah, so pretty much same thing. I came from NICU nursery also. So it's kind of like, wow, this is a different kind of, from hospital to public health. But I see, I see a lot of benefits from it, like being in there, like just, sitting with this mom, telling you how her day is, and then at the beginning she was like crying, and then towards the end you see her smile. Yeah, because, sometimes the only thing they need is somebody to talk to. Yeah, everyday life. Yeah, so to me, it's very important to really expand into every, mom out there that, somebody's there for them. Yeah, and that's what I see in this program. So that's why they always ask me, why are you staying? Or why did you stay? Because, I've been here for 5 years, and I was like, because I believe in this program. I believe that there's going to be a lot more changes if this program will continue. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your service. These the kids that you go visit the moms. How long usually is a visit? How is it every day of the week, or is it certain days of the week?
So HFA has a different model. So they're actually in different levels. So HFA goes up to 4 levels. The first level is you visit them every week, which is until the child is 6 months old. Or if you think that the child cannot be left, or you need to stay with the child until they're a year old and visit them weekly, that's up to the nurses. So we can actually have the child stay with us for 1 year and visit them for every week. Then it goes to level 2, which is bi-monthly, then level 3, monthly, level 4, quarterly. So that's how the program does it. But it depends, and they're all 60 minutes. So sometimes, depending on the situation, because sometimes mom has a crisis, it can go up to 2 hours. Yeah, depending on the crisis of the mom or what's happening within the household. So it really does vary, but we cannot go any less than 60 minutes. That's what the program wants, because at 60 minutes you'll be able to have rapport, and you'll be able to understand what's going on with the family.
Breakdown of the age, the moms, and what different levels they are?
Yes.
Do you have that?
We have
if you
our...
can share that with us, I think that'd be important for us to have.
Yeah. We have it in our data.
Your data. Okay.
We have a great data system.
Okay, please, if you could, Senator.
Yeah, I want to thank Chairman Rodriguez for giving us this opportunity to hear more about this program, because I've seen some of the things that you have on TV. You have different outreaches that you do. I know that you do it during like you have health fairs. I see your team out. So I wanted to ask a quick question about, again, back to the funding. So on the program funding, what amount is spent on your outreach efforts? What amount is spent on that marketing component and trying to make sure that the families, at-risk families that could avail of these services, are aware that this program is available to them?
So our funds for marketing efforts, it varies. We try and put most of the funding into either salaries, or so we can have more home visitors, or into family activities, which are family days or parent trainings or so forth. But just to kind of give you an estimated amount, we probably have I'm thinking it's below 15,000, and so we do have TV commercials and PSA, and I think the recruitment has kind of today our recruitment is actually temporarily suspended, because we only have 2 home visitors actually conducting home visits, and we needed to get approval and guidance from our model developer. Yeah, and so recruiting for unless Relita wants to chime in, we don't see an issue with recruiting families. We actually have more
than we can handle.
So, okay. As a program person, when I look at that and then I say, okay, where can we put the monies, where is it most in need? And so that's why there's not a lot of funds that go into, or that's budgeted for marketing purposes, and it's just because of the way the program is currently designed right now.
Okay, understood. And I just wanted to, again, touch on something that really struck me, as a mother of young children, and I feel like I had a lot of resources available to me. I have lots of family members on island that are willing to help me, my in-laws, my parents, and extended family that have helped me raise my 2 young children. But I also understand so many constituents that we meet with on a day-to-day basis, they don't have those kinds of resources. They don't have family members on island, or whatever the case may be, it varies. But there are very simple things that they don't, I mean, even if you read all of the books on what to expect when you're expecting and then what to expect when the baby's born, yeah, they give them to the mothers and the fathers, and there's so many things about raising children that are not in any book. And so just being able to have a conversation with someone who's not going to place any judgment on you and to ask these questions, it's so important to give them that resource. So I just want to thank you so much for the work that you do. It's extremely important in really making sure that we're giving the parents the opportunity to do the best job that they can on a day-to-day basis, but also giving those children a leg up in life and giving them, healthy outcomes and a really bright future for Guam. So thank you so much.
Can I share something about our caseload? One of the families that we mentioned, I was transporting that baby to Minnesota because he had a heart problem, but he was put on foster care. So the mom was in the plane with me, never saw her son because he was in foster care. It was like, two people meeting just because of a need. And what was good about it is the baby's there and she's like looking at it, it's like a total. But when we came back, I said, we need to take care of this child. And so this program, and being part that we knew the baby already, a mom that was traumatized with domestic violence, drugs, taking substance abuse, they took her away from the baby when he was born because he was under the Department of Youth Affairs. So, totally, she had nothing. So with this, when we had them, just putting them together, and the main thing of this program is child and parent bonding. And it worked on this girl changed totally 100% because she said, this is my baby, I'm gonna take care of him. And you can see, he had some disability, what do you call that, delays. But with the home visiting, teaching them the curriculum, the mom and the baby, they talk, they play, and they grew. The mom got more, she knew how to be a mom. She understood whatever happened, but to now she watches him, and that's what you want to see. But that was one of the worst cases. She had all the criteria of this home visiting, the risk factors, domestic, drugs, and child abuse. She was also abused too, so it just clicked with this family. And being in the Head Start, he didn't walk at 12 months is when they should walk. 15 months, he walked. Every little thing was coming in place. But this, with the home visitor always helping, giving resources to the mom, and now he's in school, he's walking. He's not yet totally with the speech and everything, but just this being there every day or every week, watching the child and mom bond. That's the key. So it's a program that, I was one of we know everything, public health knows how to home visit, but the models really do make it stronger to visit and gives us more outcomes to look forward to get to that. And so, I think this program it took a slow start, but if you look at it, even though the breastfeeding story, that is what public health does. We prevent, we do prevention to increase it. The other one was the immunization and the well baby checks. That's what public health does. And they're coming out. The moms go to the visit, they go to their immunization, they do breastfeeding. So it follows our model. But again, with the little help of the model, evidence-based model, it does make a big difference
with strong outcomes. And I just want to emphasize something that was shared in the summary, that research shows that evidence-based home visiting can provide a positive return on investment, and that's what you're saying. And I think it saves us all so much down the line. It's saving us. We're giving this mother an opportunity to connect with her child, so there's less opportunity or less desire for her to contain that or continue that path of substance abuse. Now she has something to live for and something to, occupy her time and her energy. So we're saving our community in public expenditures, emergency room visits, child protective services, special ed, because we're getting all of these things early. We have early intervention for these things, increased tax revenues from parents being able to become gainfully employed and contribute back to and I think that for me, that's like the big home run here when you think about this modest federal investment in our community and what we're able to kind of see the benefits of all of that unfold. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. So we want to work with you to, if you've put any policies in place or proposals in place for the sustainability after 2019, we work with you. But before that, I want to ask Terry also to speak about perhaps any referrals that the kids that are in your care. How does it work together with Project Cariño?
So Cariño, of course, is an early childhood program, and it aligns with the early childhood programs within public health, such as Project Bista, and of course island-wide with Head Start, Guam Early Intervention Systems, and Special Ed. So it's a wonderful collaboration across the board, serving our children and families island-wide, and this is very significant. Our strength is in, of course, our team, their education, their relationships with their families, but our strength is also in our partnerships. And we want to make sure that we have those strong partnerships, and we work with a program called the Early Learning Council for making sure that the message is clear, that we all are working towards our goal. When it comes to referrals, Cariño itself gets a great number from Child Protective Services, of course, families that are concerned. A lot of our target actually is in primary care and making sure that all children that access public health that are newborn to 5 in our case have access to screening. The beauty of the program with Cariño is, of course, we will do the ages and stages focusing on social, emotional, behavioral health. And for those cases that are a little bit more complicated, we can do Connors screening to sort of be considering autism. We do have trauma screenings and so forth. So it is a strong partnership between Bista and Cariño, and as well as the early childhood programs that are out there. Some cases are not just a simple warm referral, but some cases are quite dynamic and require more of what we call a wraparound systems of care approach. And this is where we're bringing Bista in and Cariño in. We're bringing in maybe a primary care doctor and a child protective services worker, and of course the family. But we also might have like Gora at the table because of housing or because of nutrition. And those cases clearly need the coordination of a program and definitely making sure that the family voice is heard. So we've been very fortunate through the years to offer trainings across the board that strengthen families, that address the protective factors, and of course we talk about that relationship between families and staff, and for us we're looking more of the systems of care, making sure services are culturally competent, that they're delivered respectfully, that services are within the community and that families don't necessarily have to go off island, not unless they really have to, but that we should be able to have families have access to those services. So the trainings have been very good. They're across the board, and I know there's a really good one coming up, and I'm delighted that we got Pauline Camacho on board. I was very happy about that. So the trainings are across the board, and having those trainings and making it consistent amongst the different providers really brings more of that one message, that less confusion for the families. So our partnership between Cariño and Bista, I think, has been a very favorable one, and obviously one we want to continue to build from. So thank you.
I just wanted to add also that one of the great things about the partnerships that we have in the early childhood community is when we offer family activities. And because Carreño and Bista are under the Bureau of Family Health and Nursing Services, we partner a lot with a lot of our family activities, such as parent cafes, which is a really great one. We normally offer a certain number of slots for Bista families. Bista reciprocates that. They actually have a family event tomorrow, and they've invited Carreño families. We also extend the opportunity to early intervention families. And so within the early childhood community, you know, we're not just a like one program, one mind, you know, one client type of service. Is, you know, we look at all the early childhood programs and how can we extend some of the services, you know, if they're not eligible for our service, but what is something that we can extend so that we can definitely build the, that relationship and build the capacity within the early childhood programs.
You know, I just want to add, when we talk about activities and family activities, really what we're doing is looking at activities that many are evidence-based, of course, and that they're designed to build the relationship between the child and family, whether that's alternative family, biological parent, foster, grandparent, whatever the case may be, but really developing and building that trust that can take place during play, the power of play, something as simple as an act as play, but you learn to develop that trust, that communication, that love that can take place, especially during those informative years. So, you know, the foundation that Bista is setting and Carreño, obviously it's making an impact, but it will continue to make an impact years from now. And well-founded children are in a much better place when they're facing traumatic situations, and definitely today's stresses that are in our environment. And like it was mentioned earlier, the concern around poor decision-making, poor self-esteem, obviously sometimes leading to suicide, Department of Youth Affairs, sanctuary, and then the graduation to DOC if that's what happens, if they don't, I hate to say, kill themselves before then. So these are the foundation years, and these are the programs that are making the difference. So I really thank you for bringing us to the table today.
Thank you very much. And, you know, that's why I say really the future is bright, right? When you look at all the social ills that's happening now, and a lot of times people would say, man, what is happening to our kids, right? Why are they getting into these different troubles? It's programs like this that you guys are intervening and ensuring the next generation doesn't end up that way. That's why I really believe in the program, in this program, the other programs, Carreño, I know the early childhood learning council as well, and all the programs that really are there to provide the assistance needed for our families. So thank you very much. And I know that one of the next steps for you is to look at the sustainability after 2019. So we have another champion here, so we're going to work with her in making sure that now we can start talking and thinking about how we're going to make this happen, right?
Yeah. So part of the sustainability plan is I've started looking at what other states are doing. There's been a lot of movement with different states with their legislature. So that's something that I'll look further into, and so I can present some ideas or what are some of those existing policies that's working in any of the states with the McV grant, and then we can start continue our conversation then.
Anyone else have anything to add or like to add? If not, okay. I want to thank you very much. I know you're very busy, but I thought this was very important. We'll make sure that the other senators also receive this packet and this presentation that you provided, so that when we start the discussion, Audrey, on moving forward, they're informed of this as well. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.